spent in a miserable way.
U.S. News Sackler family targeted veterans to increase Oxycontin profits with survival guide urging. Purdue Pharma and the controlling members of the family-run company targeted veterans in an attempt to drastically increase opioid sales. An unredacted complaint filed against the pharmaceutical giant and 8 members of the Sackler family states that this was done with the help of a survival guide that was marketed as a self-help book for post-war veterans. The guide urged service members to ask their doctors for opioid prescriptions while assuring them that the pills were not addictive unless there was a family history of drug abuse. Attorney General Maura Healey states in the complaint filed by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that the campaign launched by Purdue and the Sacklers to target veterans was remarkably successful in the end at a terrible cost. Compared to non-veterans, Massachusetts veterans are 3 times more likely to die from opioid overdose, reads the court filing. Scroll down for video app. Campaign Purdue Pharma and the Sacklers released a survival guide that was written by Iraq combat vet Derek McGinnis Wright, who lost his leg in Iraq and now suffers from chronic pain. Death dealers at the Sackler family paid themselves $4,273,489,182 above in profits from opioid sales from 2008 and 2016 above a horrible fact. At the same time, over 235,000 Americans died of opioid overdoses. The complaint lays out a 3-step method by which Purdue and the Sacklers work to increase profits by targeting untapped groups. First, Purdue deceived Massachusetts doctors and patients to get more people on its dangerous drugs. Purdue targeted. Second, Purdue misled them to take higher and more dangerous doses. And finally third, Purdue deceived them to stay on its drugs for longer and more harmful periods of time. Step 1 in the push to get more veterans hooked on Oxycontin was the survival guide. Exit Wounds, the survival guide to pain management for returning veterans their families, was released in 2009 by Derek McGinnis. He is an Iraq War combat veteran who lost his leg when a terrorist deliberately drove into the ambulance he was driving overseas. He now speaks around the country to doctors and veterans on behalf of Purdue Pharma about his chronic pain, a diagnosis that requires him to be on pain pills at all times. That makes McGinnis a profit powerhouse for Purdue, that could lead to problems down the line, according to experts. The complaint cites one study that states long experience with opioids shows that people who are not predisposed to addiction are unlikely to become addicted to opioid pain medications. There is little mention of Exit Wounds' origin online, however, with even Amazon making no mention of Purdue or the Sacklers on the book's sales page. Exit Wounds tells the inspirational story of how one courageous veteran, with the aid of his family, recovered and thrived despite near-death, traumatic brain injury, and the loss of a limb. The book also offers veterans and their families comprehensive and authoritative information on acute and chronic pain syndromes afflicting veterans, treatment options, and strategies for self-advocating for optimal pain care and medical resources inside and outside the Virginia system, according to its page in the Amazon AAAAA. There is only one passage of the book that is highlighted in the complaint, and while it is brief there are a number of alarming comments. The pain-relieving properties of opioids are unsurpassed. They are today considered, yet, despite their great benefits, opioids are underused. For a number of reasons, McGinnis later writes in the book, long experience with opioids shows that people who are not predisposed to addiction are unlikely to become addicted to opioid pain medication. The Sacklers also allegedly pushed high doses of painkillers and hoped to cash in on anti-overdose drug Narcan while 235,000 Americans died from the opioid epidemic. In March, a group of protesters led by photographer Nan Golden descended on the Sackler wing at the Met to shame the familia. Mortimer David Alphonse Sackler, 47, with his wife, Sackler. The Hamptons Hope. The lawsuit claims that Purdue Pharma and members of the Sackler family knew that patients on higher dosages of Oxycontin for long periods were at an increased risk of serious side effects, including addiction, yet they continued to promote the high doses as they yielded the most profit. In fact, from 2008 to 2016, the Sackler family added $4.2 billion to their already massive fortune in profits derived just from the sale of prescription opioids. Richard Sackler, a son of a founder of Purdue Pharma and its former president, wrote in a 2008 email to company officials to measure our performance by RXs by strain, giving higher measures to higher strains, according to the filing. Jonathan and Mortimer Sackler were also copied in on the email, according to the new disclosures. Richard Sackler has always denied he was involved in the company's marketing activities. After making billions selling opioids, Purdue Pharma even considered selling anti-overdose drug Narcan. The filing shows a potential plan to study our long-term script users to better understand target end patients for Narcan. The plan never went forward but appeared at our 2014 presentation to company officials, including a Sackler family member, which also stated that pain treatment and addiction are naturally linked and that there is an opportunity to expand our offering to be an end-to-end pain provider. The filing paints a picture of a wealthy family getting richer while the overdoses skyrocketed as the opioid epidemic swept the country and claimed the lives of more than 235,000 Americans according to the Centers for Disease Control. After 275-page suit is set to tarnish the legacy of a family that once bragged they would bury the competition with the release of the highly addictive Oxycontin. Purdue spokesman Robert Josephson criticized the lawsuit and denied the claims, telling the AO of the documents cited by the Attorney General support her fictional narrative that the company was only interested in promoting higher doses. The complaint states that 8 members of the Sackler family Richard, Beverly, David, Gillian, Jonathan, Kathy, Mortimer and Teresa paid their families billions of dollars from opioid sales. Kathy Sackler, 70, lives in New York City and owns property in Connecticut with her wife Ia. The exact number is listed as $4,273,489,182, though it is noted that the list of payments is likely incomplete and not exhaustive. It was not just the family who was profiting either, with board members taking home $600,000 annually for their work with the company, according to the complaint. Members of the family that controls Connecticut-based Purdue Pharma are also defendants in a lawsuit brought by New York's Suffolk County. There is also a mass, more than 1,000 government entities have sued Purdue, along with other drug makers and distributors, claiming they are partly culpable for a drug overdose crisis that resulted in a record 72,000 deaths in 2017. The majority of those deaths were from legal or illicit opioids. The company documents at the heart of the Massachusetts claims also could be evidence in the Ohio lawsuit, which are being overseen by a federal judge AAA. The allegations have already started to tarnish a name that is best known for its generosity to museums worldwide, including New York's Metropolitan Museum of Art, which has a Sackler wing, and London's Tate Modern. The late Mortimer Sackler with his widow, Dame Teresa Sackler, who is among members of the family being sued. Brothers Jonathan, left, and Richard, right, Aricard headed Purdue from 1999 to 2003 and oversaw much of the increasing sales of Oxycontin as it was being advertised. Beverly Sackler is Raymond's 94-year-old widow. She lives in Greenwich. The Sackler name also is on a gallery at the Smithsonian, a wing of galleries at London's Royal Academy of Arts and a museum at Beijing's Peking University. The family's best known and most generous donor, Arthur M. Sackler, died nearly a decade before Oxycontin was released. In its lawsuit filed last year, The Massachusetts Attorney General's office went after members of the Sackler family and Purdue, which is structured as a partnership and is not publicly traded. The company's flagship drug, Oxycontin, was the first of
Raindrop, drop top, top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.